All right. Once again, good afternoon and welcome to this webinar. And thank you for taking out time and participating in this webinar. So we'll get started now. And before we get started with this webinar, I just thought of sharing with you how we'll be conducting this webinar. So we'll be conducting this webinar. I'll be sharing a presentation with you. Now, at the end of this webinar, we'll be having a question answer round to ask your question. So while I'll be taking you through the presentation, at any stage, if you have a question, you can add that question into the Q&A box that you're seeing right in front of your screen. So that's where you can ask your question, or if you want, you can also add your question to the chat, but it will be better if you can add it to the Q&A section, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Now, at the end of the session, that's where we'll also try to have an interactive session, so where me and you can have an interaction, and that's where if there's anything that you'd want to speak out and discuss in person, we'll try to do that as well. So this where now I'll start sharing my screen, and that's where we'll get started with today's webinar. Once again, thank you everyone for taking out time and participating in this webinar. Now let's get started without wasting any more time. So this is where, for the benefit of bandwidth and to conserve the bandwidth, I'll turn off my camera. Hope that will be all right with everyone. And although I'll still try to explain in the equal manner. And then let's get started with today's webinar. So let's get started now. A brief introduction about myself. My name is Adnan, and I'm Director SME E-commerce Growth at Global Linker. I have more than 1.5 decades of experience in e-commerce and digital trade. And at Global Linker, I take care of Linker.store, which is Global Linker's e-commerce platform, and other strategic initiatives in India and Philippines. Other than that, I'm an avid public speaker, and I have conducted more than 300 training sessions and webinars in India and Philippines, and trained more than 10,000 SMEs. Moving on, let's understand the discussion topics. The first topic that we'll be discussing today is the magic of e-commerce. After that, we'll understand, if you are getting started with building your e-commerce website, there are a number of questions for which you need answers. So we'll try to answer many of those questions here. After that, we'll understand what are the basic marketing activities that you can get started with. After that, we'll understand about Linker.store, the e-commerce platform of Global Linker. And then we'll understand how you can set up your e-commerce store. After that, we'll understand few case studies, or we'll review few case studies. And lastly, we'll have a question answer round where I will answer all your questions and queries. Moving on to the magic of e-commerce. Now here I'll share a couple of very interesting facts about Indian e-commerce sector. So the first fact is that we are going to become the second largest market, and we will surpass USA e-commerce market by 2034. Indian e-commerce sector is expected to grow to $110 billion by 2025 from $46 billion in 2020. 10 million internet users are added every month. 60% of online orders that are coming in India are from tier 2 cities and smaller towns. 97% of the postal codes in India have ordered at least one item in year 2020. Now, here are a few facts from the B2B business, because that's where the members who are in B2B business in the audience might be wondering, there is nothing relevant for me. Now, here are a few interesting facts about B2B business. So this is where you'll see 49% of all the B2B purchases are now conducted digitally or via digital channels. Another important change or shift that is happening with respect to B2B buying, and that is 75% of B2B buyers will be digital centric millennials by 2025. Another related facts, 44% of these millennial buyers want a seller-free sales experience. So that means they want a digital purchasing experience. These are important changes that are happening in the business ecosystem. And if you're a business owner, you should make the necessary changes in the way you do business to not only grow your business at the desired rate, but also to ensure long-term sustainability of your business. Before moving ahead, I wanted to show you an example of a very traditional products. This is Shaitaj and they make pagdis and turbans. Now they are using Global Linker's Linker.store for their online store. And now you can see because the business is digitized, now they are able to sell their products to the customers located across the world. So that's the power of digitization, and that's the advantage that comes to your business. So now let's start our discussion about if you are wanting to create an e-commerce website, then how can you get started? So this is where I'll try to answer many of the questions that are frequently asked. But if there is any question in addition to this that you would want to ask or you want an answer to, then please add that to the question answer section, and I'll try to answer that at the end of the session where we'll have the question answer round. So the first act or the first activity that you have to do is to create a business plan. Now here I wanted to clarify that the business plan that I'll be explaining is with respect to the e-commerce website, not the entire e-commerce business. So if you're thinking of creating an e-commerce website, these are the things that you have to keep in mind. That's what I am going to explain here. Now, firstly, let's be clear. A lot of time people have this notion that it is something that we are creating as if it is required. What I mean to say is that people don't treat their websites or their e-commerce platforms as a business asset. When you're creating an e-commerce website, your objective is to generate business out of it, and it is a business asset. So if I have to explain this with an example, just imagine that you're opening a physical store. So you hire a shop in the high street market. That's where you're getting the interiors done. You're hiring the staff, and then you're putting stock to it. So all that, just imagine as if you are doing the same thing. This is where you are doing it virtually. So you have to start treating it as a business asset, something from which you want to generate business out of it. You are not creating this only because everyone has to have an e-commerce website, right? So that's where approach it with a plan. Now, the first activity that you have to do is to identify the cost head. What are the cost heads? So the first cost head is the fixed one. So this is where you have your domain renewal expenses, your SSL renewal expenses, and if you are using a SaaS platform, then it may have a subscription that you have to pay, or if you have a custom development, in that case, you'll be taking care of hosting an AMC. So that's another thing that will incur every year, and to certain extents these are fixed. Now on the variable side, you have your banner designing, because you'll have to update the banners at least every 3 months. Ideally you should do that every month, but at least every 3 months you should update the banners, and that's where you'll have to hire a graphic designer, and you'll have to buy images, etc. So that's where you'll have certain variable investment. After that is product photo shoots. So that's where again it will depend on type of product that you have. So if you have products requiring model shoots, so that's where obviously your cost will be on a higher side. If you have a product category that does not require model shoots, your cost will be lower. A lot of people do that, do the shoot on their own. So that's another area. That's another cost that you have to consider. The next is content writing. Now, the content writing, a lot of people relate only it with writing blogs or related with SEO activity, whereas that is not the case. Content writing means also writing the product description, etc. Because if that is written professionally in an appropriate manner, your probability or your chances of getting orders increases exponentially, because the customer who's reviewing the product information firstly will get an impression that this is a professional organization and a professional setup. Second, because the information is explained clearly, so they'll be able to understand it in a better way. Next is social media management. And social media management, I'm not referring to the marketing activities related to it. I'm referring to the social media page management, creation, posting, etc. So that's where you should have a calendar, and that's where you should do posts. So creating those posts, creating that content created, so all that activity, you have to consider that. Now, the last piece that I've highlighted and I have also made it bold is digital marketing. And with respect to digital marketing, a lot of people ask me this question: how should we do our costing or budgeting part of it? So that's where what you should consider is a industry conversion average, which is around 2%. So if you want 100 orders to come to your website, so that's where almost 5,000 people should visit your website, then you'll get 100 orders. So based on that, how many orders you are looking for to achieve from your e-commerce website, based on that, you can set aside your marketing budgets for your online store. Moving on, now let's understand the statutory or regulatory or legal requirement that you have to consider or keep in mind when you are considering creating an e-commerce website or getting into an e-commerce business. The first is business registration. This is not mandatory. So I'm repeating once again for everyone's reference, business registration is not mandatory. However, legal experts recommend that you should have a private limited or a LLP organizations, because that's where your exposure is limited. However, again, I'm repeating this. This is recommended but not mandatory. Next is GST registration. So this is mandatory if you want to sell online. That's where you should have a GST registration. Next is vendor agreement. So this is where you have to have a vendor agreement in case you are doing trading. So where you are not a manufacturer, you are selling someone else's products, and that's where if you don't want to get into a hassle, because a lot of brands don't allow their vendors to sell products online. Most of the online selling is managed by the brand itself or by their select distributors or vendors. So that's where if you want to sell their products, you should have a clear agreement or authorization from them that they are okay, so that you don't get into any legal issues in future. Next is terms of service and privacy policy. Now, these are required by law to be there on your online store, and a lot of platforms, including Linker.store, gives its users standard content which they can review and update. However, it is important that when you are reviewing and updating the content, you ensure that the policies that you are adding to your online store are proper and in accordance to the actual practice that you'll be following on your store. Next is intellectual property. So if you are a manufacturer, if you're a brand and you are adding your own content to the website, so that's where you should ensure that it is copyrighted, so that the other person or any other entity cannot copy your information which is there on your e-commerce website. Moving on to the classic question, marketplaces versus online store. And this is where in the audience, I would want to clarify this. And this is something that I've explained in my earlier webinars as well, that customer touch points are important. So as a business owner, it is important for you to understand what are the customer touch point, where your customer is. If your customer is on marketplace, then you have to be there on marketplace. Otherwise, you are not giving the right customer experience, or you are not expanding appropriately, because that will remain a untapped channel that you can utilize and you can grow your business further. So if your customer is there on marketplaces, then you should be there on marketplaces. Another important thing that I would want to highlight here, and I've seen a lot of businesses don't appreciate this fact properly, that you're having your e-commerce website or having your website is must, whereas being there on marketplace is optional. So if your product requires you to be on marketplace, you have to be there on marketplace. If it does not require, you don't have to be on marketplace. But what is important is that you have to have a digital presence for your brand, for your business. You need that digital presence. Now the question comes, why you should have an e-commerce store, or why having an e-commerce website is a must. So here are a few facts that I'll be sharing with you. The first fact is brand building. So if you want to build a brand, if you want to build an entity of yours without having a digital presence, it is near to impossible. Second is maintaining the brand value. Now, you may have seen a lot of premium brands don't sell their products on marketplaces. The reason is that many times marketplaces do predatory pricing, or they offer discount from their side. And that's where what happens, the value or the position of the brand in the eyes of the customer gets diluted. So a lot of brands choose not to be there on the marketplaces, so because that's where they'll lose the premium feel. In fact, a lot of regular brands also do this practice, that the products or the fresh products are only there on their physical store and their online store, and only the older season products are there on marketplaces. So that's another practice that brands follow to maintain that brand value and premiumness in the eyes of the customers. Next is own customer base. This is significantly important, and I don't think anyone will argue with this, because this is where you'll have your own customer base that helps you expand further, as well as ensure long-term sustainability of your business. Next is better customer engagement. And this is where, because you are directly engaging with the customer, so that's where you can offer better customer engagement. And at the same time, you also get better customer feedback, because now you are a lot closer to the customer. Next is additional sales channels. So if you are already selling on marketplaces, this becomes a additional sales channel that can be scaled up further to increase your revenue and your business. Next is lower per order cost, because on your online store, you are not paying the commission which you have to typically pay on marketplace. So that's where your cost per order is on the lower side. Next is long-term sustainability. So this is something that I've explained earlier. Marketplaces can come and go. This is something which is your own. No one can take this from you. And this is something that you can build over the period of time that will ensure long-term sustainability of your business. Moving on to the next classic question, that is custom build versus SaaS. Before moving ahead, let's understand what is custom build. So custom build is wherein someone or some agency is building a website custom. They might be using a solution. There are different solutions available for a custom build in the market. Now they may be using any of that solution to build an website for you. This is where you have to further invest in hosting and AMC, and that remains operational. Uh, Now, what is SaaS? SaaS means software as a service. It's an abbreviation for that. Now, this is where instead of you buying the software or you buying the technology, you are taking that on lease. Now, a very common example that a lot of businesses use is business emails. So that's where you're not buying the software, right? You're just using Gmails or any other service provider's email, and that's where you're operating your business email. So in the similar fashion, you can use an e-commerce platform, and that's where you'll be able to build an e-commerce website. You are not buying the software, you are just leasing it out, or you are just subscribing to it to use that software to run your e-commerce business. Now the question comes, and a lot of times I've seen that agencies have tricked people into believing that custom is better as compared to SaaS. And a common advice that is given to these business owners is that this is your own website, but you have to understand you are not a technology company. And this is where I'll repeat this statement once again: please don't be carried away with this love for owning it yourself. You are not a technology company, and what you are getting tricked into is to invest in something that will become obsolete in 2 to 3 years of time, and that's where you'll be sitting on the same position after 2 to 3 years maximum, because the technology is evolving very rapidly. At the same time, over the period of this 2 to 3 years, you'll be constantly investing into it. So don't get carried away with this impression. This is your e-commerce website. What you're building on a SaaS platform is also yours. Now let's do an comparison across different parameters. The first parameter is initial investment. So if you're building your e-commerce website on a SaaS platform, that's where definitely the initial investment is very low. On a custom build, it is on a higher side if you are using a good technology solution and a good agency. Second is go to lifetime, how quickly you can create a website and go live. On a SaaS platform, it is very short. Within a matter of a day or few days, you'll be able to go live, whereas on a custom build, it will take few weeks to go live. Next is investment in hosting infrastructure with a SaaS kind of solution, because the hosting is included into the software as a service package. So that's where you don't have to invest in hosting, whereas on a custom build, you have to invest into hosting, and that's a additional investment that you have to do. Subscription to maintenance contract in a SaaS, because that is also included. Your maintenance or bug fixing is included in the SaaS infrastructure, so you don't have to invest into it. But in a custom build, you have to subscribe. Otherwise, if your website goes down, you will be in a tricky situation. Next is new features and functions. So as the technology keeps evolving, new features and functionalities keep getting added to the e-commerce ecosystem. That's where, because the SaaS platforms have to keep them updated, so they keep on adding these new features and functions to the platform. Whereas in your case, you have to get those features custom developed if you are using a custom developed platform. Requirement of technical know-how for eStore management for a SaaS, because they are meant for a DIY usage. So that's where no requirement is there. Whereas for a custom build, yes, you require to some extent understanding of technical knowledge to operate those platforms. Risk of obsolescence. This is the most important thing. This is where on a SaaS, because they are constantly improving and constantly upgrading their technology stack, their features, etc. So the risk of obsolescence is there. Absolutely no risk of obsolescence is associated with SaaS, whereas with custom build, yes, it is very high. And that is one of the primary reasons why you are seeing that so many services or so many softwares which were even conventional earlier, now they are all being offered on SaaS. Next is pre-integrated services. So with SaaS platform, a lot of payment and logistics services come pre-integrated with a custom build. Every time you have to get a service integrated, whether it is a payment gateway or a logistic operator or some plugin or some application, you have to get a custom build done, or at least you have to get the plugin installed there. Integrated with other added plugins. So most of the plugins in a SaaS infrastructure are pre-integrated, so you have to just sign up and activate them. Whereas with a custom build, you'll have to get into a development cycle. Data security. Now, this is a very important aspect, and which a lot of time gets overlooked by a lot of business owners. And this is where if you're going for a SaaS kind of infrastructure, and because that's where not only your website's information, thousands of other websites information is there on their servers. So firstly, they are more high capacity servers, they are better configuration servers, and they have better data security as compared to a server that you'll be getting when you are getting a custom setup done using an agency. So obviously the configuration and the security levels are very different in both kinds of infrastructure. On a SaaS platform, your data is more secured as compared to a custom build. Now, overall ease of use, SaaS platforms are very easy to use, very easy to scale up, whereas on a custom build, yes, you have to constantly be in a development mode to operate your business efficiently. Lastly, education and training of the team members. So on the SaaS platform, there's a lot of educational material which is provided by them. A lot of them do training sessions, including us on Linker.store. We conduct daily training sessions to help and guide our members. So a lot of that training and educational support is available on SaaS platform. Whereas on custom build, either you have to hire a trained resource, or you have to get your existing resource trained so that they can now utilize the platform. Moving on, let's understand few basic marketing activities that you should do with your online store. So what are the must that you should do? So first is you must have social media pages, and I've seen a lot of members don't give equal emphasis to it, just considering the fact, or they may have an impression in their mind that we are not such a big business, so why should we have a social media presence? Now, it is very important to have a social media presence. Why? Because a customer, if you are impressed with a product or a service offered by a business, then you would want to be in touch with that business. And one of the very common practice that is followed by the customers to stay in touch with a business is to follow them on social media pages. So whenever you are launching a new product or whenever you are going on sale, they can know, and then they can buy your products. So that's where it is extremely important that you have your social media pages created. In addition to that, you should also get a or you should also create a social media calendar, and this is where you should have a calendar wherein you are at least doing one post a week, or ideally you should do it a couple of times in a week, but at least once a week is something that you should do. And that's where you can create a social media calendar in terms of what kind of creative and what kind of post will go, and you can keep posting that. So that's where your social media pages will stay alive. And then obviously whenever you're doing your sales promotion and marketing campaigns, etc., that content can be added in addition to that. Now, the third item that you're seeing here is a newsletter plan. And this is where, again, it is important that you have to be in touch with your customer. And that's where create a newsletter plan. So you can send them fortnightly or you can send them monthly. And that's where you can tell your customers that this is what is happening with your brand. So that's where you maintain that top of the mind brand recall. Now, what you should do is firstly, you should have a instant reach out plan. So when you are getting your e-commerce website built, you have created it for business. Now you have to get customers onto it. How can you get customers onto it? If you're an existing business that has a customer base, the quickest and the first thing that you should do is to reach out to those customers, tell them now we are online and please come and shop on our eStore. Second is, if you don't have a existing customer base, you are a startup, that's where you can use your friends and family to spread the word and encourage them to shop on your online store. It will give you two advantages. First is obviously it will give you instant orders. Second is you'll also have quick dry runs of your entire operations. So other than the website, your internal order processing, etc., everything you'll be able to smoothen, and you'll be able to run that. Next item that you're seeing is emailer calendar and plan. So email is a very powerful tool when it comes to sales promotion and getting traffic onto your online stores. That's where, again, create a plan. If you already have a customer base, that's where you can utilize it. If you don't have a customer base, there are agencies which provide that service. So they have their own customer base of online shoppers, or they have that database which you can utilize, and that's where you can send your emailer, and from there you can get customers onto your online store and get conversions onto it. Then you should have a digital marketing plan, how you'll attempt to bring the traffic onto your online store, what are the different digital marketing channels that you'll be utilizing, what kind of budgets you'll be allocating, and what kind of returns you're expecting out of it. So all those parameters should be defined. Last item is influencer marketing. That is again a very powerful and a very popular type of marketing that is being used these days. So you can utilize this. You can create a plan how to reach out to these influencers and what kind of traction you can get out of them. So that's another area where you can attempt if you want to understand more about influencer marketing. So some time back we did a webinar with an expert on influencer marketing. You can go to our YouTube channel, and that's where you can review the recording of that webinar. Moving on to Linker.store. So let's now understand about Linker.store. And obviously you would want to understand what is Linker.store. So Linker.store is Global Linker's own SaaS based e-commerce platform. In simple words, it means you can use Linker.store to create an e-commerce website for yourself. It is a SaaS platform. Now, a lot of times members have asked me this question that Global Linker is a business networking platform. And unlike other professional or social networking platform, they don't have an e-commerce website builder. So why does Global Linker has an e-commerce website builder? The answer is that one of the areas where we want to help out our members, SMEs, is digitizing their business and growing it digitally. Now that's where we had observed that the existing solutions, either they were too expensive or they were too complicated for them to use. So that's where we have indigenously developed a Linker.store, which any Global Linker member can use to digitize and grow their business. Now, the second obvious question that comes to mind is why Linker.store? And this is where I'll share few important features or few highlights of Linker.store. So first is it is a free platform to use as a DIY solution. So if you are a Global Linker member, you can just log into your account and you'll be able to create a feature-rich e-commerce platform for yourself. So that's the first feature. Second, it is a safe and secure infrastructure. So it is a PCI certified infrastructure. We are allowed even to store financial information on our infrastructure, although we don't do that, but you can imagine how secure and safe infrastructure it is. And because we also work with a lot of banks, and that's where they want the infrastructure to be super secure. So the infrastructure that you will get here is super secured. Next is unlimited products. So here you can upload as many products that you have in your catalog. So there's no limitation on how many products you can have on your online store. Next is pre-integrated payment and logistics. So the e-store that you'll be creating using Linkers.store comes pre-integrated with the payment and logistics solution. And that's not the only thing. The rates that you'll get from the payment gateway provider or the logistic operators are also pre-negotiated and exclusive rates that you'll be getting here on the platform. Next is a dual purpose store. Now, this is a very unique feature. So this is where you can create an online store that can be utilized for B2C as well as B2B. Yes, you have heard it right. So it can be used for both retail and wholesale. So that's where you can have your retail customers who will visit your online store and they'll buy products in smaller quantities, and then you can have entirely separate catalog or separate pricing for your wholesale buyers who'll log into their account. And that's where if you want to have exclusive products which are only visible to your wholesale buyers, so that is also possible. That's another unique feature associated with Linker.store. Advanced promotional scheme is again a very unique tool associated with Linker.store. So that's where you'll be able to create a number of promotional campaigns onto your online store. So that's where your imagination is limit. The type of promotion you can think of, you'll be able to create a promotional scheme using the advanced promotional scheme capability. An example is buy one, get one free, or another example is giving incremental discounts. So the customer is ordering more, and that's where they are getting more discounts. So if the order is worth 2,000 rupees, 10% is the discount. If the order is worth 5,000 rupees, 20% is the discount. So those kinds of promotional schemes can be offered. Or if you want customers to get a free product whenever they are placing an order, and you want the customers to choose from a range of product, that is also possible using this kind of capability. Next is unlimited staff account, and this is where obviously every business owner is not able to manage their online store, and it is managed by their team. So you here have the flexibility wherein you can have as many staff accounts. There is no limitation to that. Moving on, now let's understand how to set up your online store. And this is where I'll be sharing with you a small tutorial video using which you'll be able to understand how to set up and create your online store. This video is also available on our YouTube channel. So later, if you want to understand or review that process once again, you can do that. This webinar's recording will also be there on our YouTube channel. So that's where you can review that. Now, if you want professionals to set up your online store, in that case, please do feel free to reach out to us and we will be help you out with that as well.
In this video, we will take you through how to create your online store using Global Linker. Global Linker allows you to create your free online store using its e-commerce platform, Linker.store. Creating a personalized online store with Linker.store is free and involves a simple 5-part process. Part 1. Sign in with your Global Linker account. Part 2. Set up store. Part 3. Add products. Part 4. Activate payment gateway. Part 5. Activate logistics. Let's get started on how to create your online store. Part 1. Sign in with your Global Linker account. Step 1. Log into your Global Linker account. After logging in, on the navigation click on Online Store, then on the Create Your Online Store button. Step 2. Click on Get Started. You will be directed to the Seller Dashboard. Step 3. On Overlay with Terms of Use will appear. Click on I agree after reading it. Part 2. Set up store. Step 1. Selecting a theme as per your choice. Step 2. Name your store. It can be your business name or another name you wish to give to your business. Step 3. Select your store currency. Step 4. Add a store description, elaborating about your business, product and services you offer. Step 5. Upload a store logo. You can upload the logo in Favicon by clicking on the placeholder provided. Step 6. Store contact details. Your number and email ID are pre-populated from your sign-up information. You can add new or edit existing information. Step 7. Address. Enter your store address, city, and postal code to be displayed on the store footer in Contact Us section. Step 8. Select I agree to the terms of service and click on Next. Part 3. Add products. Step 1. Next you have to upload one product. You can add more once the eStore setup is completed. To understand more about how to upload products, please refer to the product upload video. Link is in the description. Step 2. Fill in the fields. Step 3. Once you have added all the required information, click on Save and the product will get uploaded. Part 4. Set up payments. Linker.store supports multiple payment options which you can customize based on your business and buyer needs. Cash on delivery. This is to allow the customer to pay for his/her order with cash when they receive it. It is auto-enabled. You can disable it if you please. Payment gateway. To initiate online transactions conveniently on your eStore, Global Linker's e-commerce platform offers a pre-integrated payment gateways at pre-negotiated rates with multiple payment providers. To activate the payment gateway and follow the instructions as provided on the screen. To know more about how to integrate these payment gateways, check the description box. Part 5. Set up logistics. Here you can customize your shipping and courier settings. Linker.store comes with pre-integrated logistics providers that help you ship your orders with ease. Enable your preferred provider. Shipping zones. Create shipping zones to define the region-wise shipping fee and also the region from where you intend to receive orders. To know more about how to create shipping zones, check out the description box below. Click on the Add Warehouse button. Enter your warehouse address details and click on Save. After setting up the logistics, click on Next. Customize your eStore. You are seeing the admin preview of your eStore. Here you can customize the color scheme and upload banner. After completing the customization, click on Save and Publish. Your store is all set up. Happy selling!
Moving on, let's review few examples where members are using Linker.store to create and operate their online store. The first example is Archetype Studio. They are a premium stationery product manufacturer, and using this online store, they are retailing their products to a global audience. Next is a product which is entirely from a different industry. It is hardcore industrial product, which is welding machines. And this is where they are using the platform to showcase and retail their product. Next is a Woodcraft Studio that is retailing their furniture and home improvement products on their online store. Next is a FMCG healthcare product brand, and this is a dual purpose store. So this is where retail customers can come and they can buy in smaller quantities, and wholesale customers can come and buy in bulk quantities. Next is ESCH Beauty, which is a fashion and beauty product brand. Next is the Swat Products, and they are a bhujia and papad manufacturers based out of Bikaner, and this is their online store. Using this store, again, they are showcasing and retailing their products to international audience. Next is Scotch and Ice. This is their ad leisure wear brand. So these are few examples where businesses from different industries are using the platform to create their e-commerce website and use this to grow their business digitally. So this will be all from my side in today's webinar. On the screen, you can see my contact detail, and this is a QR code. If you scan this QR code, this will directly add the contact details onto your phone. So please do feel free to reach out to me if you need any help or assistance in setting up your online store, or if you have any query. In addition to that, one bonus thing for the participants of this webinar, if you want to have, I'll be more than happy to do a half-an-hour one-on-one session where I can guide you in terms of your e-commerce business strategy, how you can approach it, and how you can then set up your store and or your e-commerce business, and how you can grow it further. So if you are interested, then please also reach out to me, and we can have a one-on-one half-an-hour consultation session with you. So this is where we'll break into the question answer round. I'll stop the screen share, and we'll answer your questions and queries now. So let's get started with the question answer round, and how you can ask your questions. So one is you can definitely add your question in the chat, or if you want to have an interaction wherein you want to speak out and want to ask your question, in that case, you'll have to raise your hand, and then I'll try to unmute you. So I can see there's one questions. So that is not. So one of the members, thank you. And I will also love to have a one-on-one session with you. So you have my contact details. I'll also add them to the chat. So just drop me a message, and then we'll schedule a one-on-one session with you. Any other question from any other member? If you would want to understand anything. So I've chatted my contact number with everyone. So if you want to have a one-on-one session, then please do let me know, and I can see a few hands are raised. So I'm. So Gayatri ji, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Gayatri ji, if you can hear us, I've asked you to unmute. So you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. I think she's having some issues. So in the meantime, let me also invite Kartikeshwarji. Kartikeshwarji, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Can you help in bank finance?
In which?
Bank finance.
Bank finance. So you're looking out to get a loan from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in that case, you can send me the details. We'll see if we can help you connect with the relevant teams. So we work with ICICI Bank very closely. So we'll see how we can help you out in connecting with the relevant team and facilitating the interaction.
Okay, thank
So
you,
you
sir.
can, you can drop me a message. I've chatted my contact number. So drop me a message and we'll see what best we can do for you.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any other member who would want to understand anything or would like to ask the question? Gayatri ji, once again, if you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Or any other member who wants to ask a question can also do so. So, Mr. Kishore, I think you want to understand. So I can see your question. So you'll have to raise your hand. That's where I can see Mr. Vivekanand has raised his hand. So you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hi. I just wanted to figure out, I mean, how, for example, this platform is different than the WooCommerce platform.
So, first, I mean, in multiple ways. One is it's a SaaS-based platform. WooCommerce is works with WordPress, right?
Yeah.
So WordPress WooCommerce is typically, so you have to get into a hosting solution. You'll have to get into all that. This is a complete package where we are getting a entire SaaS built. Now, Global Linkers, Linker.store, just being the fact that it is a Global Linkers platform, it also comes with a lot of other things that other than the e-commerce website itself. So one is obviously you'll have a SaaS-based platform which will have top-of-the-line features and everything which is available in every other platform. Other than that, you'll have a better hosting infrastructure because this is a PCI DSS certified hosting infrastructure, so more secure and more scalable infrastructure. There's no limitation in number of products or kind of traffic that can come to your online store. So all that is scalable. Now, in addition to that, just I mentioned that just being part of Global Linker, there are many advantages that come to the member who are associated with Global Linker. What are those advantages? One is because we are a business networking platform, so you can always network with other business owners. So that's where you're not just retailing, you are also finding more buyers and suppliers for yourself. Other than that, we are creating solutions wherein our members are showcasing their products, and that's where for a moment I'll just quickly share my screen and show two examples of such developments which are happening. So now this is an important question. I thought of taking a little more time to answer this. So I'll just quickly share my screen. And I was mentioning that members who are creating their online store now can also showcase their products on other platforms. So there are solutions that we are building. So this is one solution that you're seeing currently on your screen, which is Indian business portal, which we are building in partnership with the Federation of All India Export Organization. Now, this is where any exporter who's part of Global Linker platform, they are able to showcase their product. And this is promoted by the Federation of All India Export Organization, which is a Ministry of Commerce entity across the world through trade commissions, etc. And that's where business will come to these members through these platforms. Another example is where Government of Telangana is creating a platform where the manufacturers or members who are from Telangana, they can showcase their products. So this is made in Telangana. Now, very soon we'll be coming with similar kind of solutions, geographic solutions in other part of the country as well very soon. So that's where these members also get orders from these platforms, and these platforms, there is no commission that is being charged or anything. So that's where additional business also start coming to these members. So that's where you're not just creating an online store, you are becoming a part of ecosystem that is built to help a business scale up their business and grow it digitally. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, got it. Thank you very much. Just one connected question with this.
Sure.
By any chance, is a sort of CRM functionality also integrated or inbuilt into this platform, or one has to integrate a separate CRM?
So at the moment, no. To answer it precisely, no. It is not built into it, but yes, integration is possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other member who would want to understand anything, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and we can have an interaction before we conclude this session for today. And once again, I've shared my contact number in the chat. I think everyone has not received it, so I'll share it once again. I'm sharing it with everyone. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll also do a screen share, and that's where I'll show the last slide where my contact details were. So that will be easier for you to, you can take a screenshot of it, or you can, it also has a QR code, so you can scan it. Yeah, I think this should help everyone. I can see there's a question by in the Q&A section by Mr. Amit Raj. So that's where, sir, you have my number. Please reach out to me, and I'll get you connected with the relevant team members. The next question is by Ujwala, and that's where the question is, if we have our own domain, can we use that? Yes, definitely you'll be able to use that. The website examples that I showed to you, they were all live on their own custom domain. But this flexibility we have given to our members, because you understand the members who are creating online store, they are also MSMEs or micro entrepreneurs who are just stepping into the digital world for the very first time, and they're not sure what will happen. And that's where we don't want it to be a bottleneck for them, that you have to have a domain, only then you can build an e-commerce store. We wanted to make it convenient for them so that they can experience it, and then they once they have understood it, they can scale it further. So that's where .linker.store as a subdomain is available to all our members to utilize it, and they can use it for as long as they want, but it is not mandatory. So if you want to take it live on your own domain, you're most welcome to do that. The last question is, how can you become part of the Global Linker platform? So it is very simple. All you have to do is to go to globallinker.com, and that's where you'll be able to sign up. I'll also share the link again in the chat, so it is available to everyone. Sorry, let me go back to the screen that we were, yeah. So I've added the globallinker.com link. So you have to just follow a simple 3-step process. So after adding your email ID and password, just a 3-step process, and then you'll be able to join Global Linker, and you'll be able to create your account. Once your account is created, you can follow the steps that were mentioned earlier. Now, before we conclude the session, let me also share with you the link of our YouTube channel. so that in future, whenever you want to understand more or you want to review anything, you can reach out to us. Let me just share the link with everyone. All right, I can see there are a few questions. There's no more question. In the Q&A section, I have answered every question. There are no questions. Let me just quickly have a look at the chat as well. Okay, so one of the member, Rajiv Ji, is asking how will it benefit exports? So as I was explaining earlier, we have a partnership with Federation of All India Export Organization, which is the premier export promotion body. And that's where what they are doing is they are creating Indian business portal. Now, you can join few Global Linker, and this is where I think I should quickly switch my screen and show you a glimpse of the solution that I'm referring to. So Indian Business Portal is something that I think I've already shown to you. This is Indian Business Portal, which is getting built. And I think about 2,000 exporters have already joined the platform and they are showcasing their products here. Now, if you are an exporter and you would want to join this platform, again, the process is simple. You have to click on this button that you're seeing on the right side of the screen, and that will take you, and which is list products. So once you have clicked on that, it will take you to this particular page. This is where you have to enter your contact number, click on get verification OTP, then you can get started. It is a 5-stage process and you'll be able to create your online store. Once your store is ready, it will go through a review process, and that's where your store will get mapped to Indian Business Portal, and that's where your products will start showcasing. Now, as I've mentioned this earlier as well, that this will be promoted by the government through different trade commissions and consulates, etc., across the world. Or in future, if international customers send an inquiry, so a lot of time embassies get an inquiry, or FIO gets an inquiry that there's someone in Africa who wants to buy rice. Now, FIO, what they'll do is they'll review the exporters who are listed with us on Indian Business Portal, because the information is digitized, and whosoever is finding or specifying or fulfilling the criteria, they will be sent or forwarded with those requirements. So that's where, if you're an exporter, I will strongly recommend, please do join Indian Business Portal. So this is where I think we have reached the end of our session here today. Now, before we conclude the session here today, any questions or any clarifications from your side? Last question that we can take before we conclude today's session. So either you can raise your hand or you can share the question via the method of chat, whichever is convenient. So I'm not seeing any other questions. So once again, before concluding this session, thank you everyone for taking out time and participating in today's session. It has been a wonderful audience and nice connecting with you. I'm looking forward to connect with and interact with you. And if you need any help with your eStore setup, or you need any guidance with your business digitization, please feel free to reach out to us. You already have my contact details, which are available, which I've chatted with you, or you can drop an email at info@globallinker, and that's where they'll help you connect with me. So thank you everyone. Thanks for taking out time and participating in this session. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye-bye.